Alright, let's get into it. You've seen people making thousands a month on LinkedIn and you want to do the same. Well, I've personally made over $3 million from LinkedIn with no ads, no spam, just a really simple strategy. And in this video, I'm going to show you the exact setup I've used to generate $3 million from LinkedIn so that you can just copy it step by step for yourself. Let's face it, right now there are people with half your experience making 7 figures just by showing up strategically on LinkedIn. That's not just really frustrating, it's costing you thousands every month. Because without a proven strategy, you waste years posting into the void, whilst competitors who are less experienced than you are sweeping up the opportunities. They're closing clients, speaking on stages, and becoming the go-to in your niche. So if you want to build a brand that opens up doors you never knew existed, you are in the right place. Over the last 5 years, I've helped over 300 founders, entrepreneurs, and execs from the likes of McKinsey, KPMG, and Salesforce to do exactly that, using a system that me and my team have refined into almost an exact science. This is tested, proven, and repeatable. By the end of this video, you'll have the exact formula to go from invisible to industry authority. Let's get into it. And I'll show you exactly what content you need to publish, but before that, you need to nail your positioning and your profile. All the content you publish will go to waste. Your positioning is going to help you build trust instantly, increase your leads, and double your rates. And I really realized the importance of positioning when I came across these two guys. And I asked myself, out of these two, who would you most trust for advice on your investments? If I asked you that question, I'd be pretty confident that you're going to say the guy on the right, Warren Buffett, right? Not your mate from down the pub. No, you have no idea how much this guy on the left knows about investments. He could be an absolute genius, but he's simply not positioned that way. If these two people gave you exactly the same advice on investing, you'd probably take the advice that Warren Buffett gave you with a lot more significance. And that's because the messenger matters. What I mean by that is who says something matters just as much as what they said. So if you want to be known and if you want people to actually consume your content, to listen to what you have to say and to see you as an expert in your space, you need to be seen as somebody worth listening to in the first place. And positioning allows us to become that person. Positioning is all about getting clear on exactly what you want to be known for, what value you can add to your audience, and why you're credible to speak on this particular subject, and making that clear to your audience. A lot of people, they just think, I don't need that. I'll just focus on delivering a great product. The truth is, that doesn't work anymore. Sure, that used to work like 10 years ago. You could just produce a great product or be really good at what you do, and your work would almost do the talking. Today, that is simply not the case. If it's not clear what you do, if it's not immediately clear why you're credible, and it's not clear how to work with you, well, you're going to keep getting overlooked whilst your competitors are sweeping up mindshare in your industry. Instead, you need to build out the 3 elements of world-class positioning. You need to have a promise, a proof, and good packaging. Now, your promise is all about giving your audience a reason to listen to you specifically. It tells them exactly what they're going to get out of consuming your content or following you or working with you. It's kind of like your own personal value proposition. And once you've built this, people are going to have an instant reason to actually stick around on your profile and consume your content. But it's not just that, you also need proof as well, because truth is anyone can share advice on LinkedIn, but why should people listen to you specifically? So here you need to use things like milestones that you've achieved in your career, results that you've achieved for your clients, or you can even use social proof. That might be things like features you've had in industry press. That's always a good thing to use. And this gives you people a reason to trust you specifically. And the final part is your packaging. Now, your packaging is what makes you different to everyone else in the industry. Because the truth is no one has the same unique combination of skills, experience, expertise, personality, and values that you have. So this is your point of difference. You need to package up that unique combination of skills, experience, expertise, and personality into something nobody can replicate. And once you have these 3 things, you're going to be differentiated from everyone else in your niche, but also your audience are actually going to see you as somebody worth listening to. Once you've built those, it's important that you actually make those clear on your profile as well, because if they're not clear on your profile, well, all of the content you create is essentially going to waste, because when you produce content, you're going to be sending people to your profile. They're going to see your post and they're going to click onto your profile. Now, if your profile isn't optimized, you're wasting all of that opportunity. You wouldn't spend on ads to direct people to a landing page or to a website that was half built or not optimized at all, would you? It would be a complete waste of money. Well, it's the same when you're producing content. If you're producing content, you are wasting time and effort sending people to a profile that is not optimized. So you need to make sure that your proof, your promise, and your packaging are clear throughout your entire profile. And there's a clear next step for where people should go afterwards. If you just look at my profile here, this is even just the top section of my profile. All of these things are present. The first thing you've got is some proof here. You can see 250 personal brands built. in my tagline. You can see things like some of the logos of places we've been featured and clients we've worked with in my cover photo. You can see some of my promise in my tagline as well. It says, we create thought leaders through personal branding. Instantly, when people land on my profile, it's clear what I do, it's clear why I'm credible, and it's clear why you should listen to me. And if you get those three things in place, you're going to hook people onto your profile where you can then convert them. I have a number of opportunities to do that. One of the big places I do this is in my featured section. I have 3 lead magnets, actually 2 lead magnets and a paid product in my featured section. Because at this point, this is 3 opportunities to convert just a profile visitor into either a lead or a customer. So they can consume any one of our lead magnets, either our thought leadership report, our how-to guide on becoming a thought leader, or they can actually just join our membership community there and then, which is a pretty low commitment offer. It's a pretty low price point offer for us, so someone that's just landed on the profile would actually be willing to do that. They're probably not at this point going to put down £3,000 a month to work with my agency to build their personal brand in full, but they might join a digital product that maybe costs a few £100. Now, once you've got these things in place, you're ready to actually start producing content. So let's look at how we actually produce world-class content. Well, my strategy for this is very, very simple. You should always start with LinkedIn. This is the best place for anyone to be producing content because it has over 61 million senior level influencers, 10 million senior decision makers, and actually drives 270% more B2B leads than Facebook. And my strategy for posting is really, really simple. If you think about it, there are only ever 3 things you've got to do in your content. You've got to get in front of new people. So the pool of people that knows who you are is constantly increasing. If you're not increasing the pool of people that knows who you are, you're always going to be capped at the number of people you can influence. So every week you want to be increasing the number of people that knows you exist. But you also want to build trust with those people, because if you have lots and lots of people that know you exist but don't trust you, well, that's a really good way to get to hundreds of thousands of followers but actually make no money from LinkedIn. And that's not what you want to do. So you also need to build trust with people. You need to share content that adds value to your audience and proves your authority. It shows you have a very high level of expertise. And once you've done that, you're increasing the pool of people that knows you exist. You're building trust with them. You're now in an opportunity. You now have an opportunity to convert those connections into clients. So some of your content should absolutely be promotional. You've almost earned the right to be promotional in some of your content. And this is how you're going to convert people into leads, subscribers, or even clients. And those are the only 3 things you've ever got to do in your content strategy. If anyone gives you a content strategy that does things outside of those 3, they are massively overcomplicating it. If we're being really, really simple, that is all we have to do with our content in order to build a profitable personal brand on LinkedIn. So how do you actually write world-class posts? Well, I've got a formula for doing this that I want to show you. There's actually 7 steps that you go through to write a world-class piece of content. And it starts with finding the angle. Now, the same piece of content, the same information, can be very, very interesting or very boring depending on the angle that you use. If I give you an example, I could say something like, here are 5 tips for building your personal brand. It's pretty boring, to be honest. But if I led with something like, I've built over 300 personal brands, and the most profitable personal brands all do these 5 things, suddenly that angle is a lot more interesting. So you need to find an angle that is maybe contrarian, it could be surprising, it's unexpected, so it's something that people haven't really seen before, or it could just create curiosity. You've got to do one of these 4 things in every single post, so make sure the angle you use speaks to one of those 4 things. Then you need to hook people in the first 1 to 2 lines. So you need to get people to actually be interested in what you have to say before the see more button. Because if they don't click that see more button, the rest of your post is pretty much pointless. You might as well have not created it. And there are 2 ways that you can hook people in. You can either use cliffhangers, so these are half-told stories. You might give people the beginning and the end of the story, but not the middle. You might give the beginning and the middle, but not the end. Or by promising value. This is a promise to teach them something. If you lead with one of these 2 things, you're going to get people hooked into your post and feeling like they have to read the rest. Once you've got that, you actually need to deliver on that hook. So the next thing is to provide digestible value. If you don't actually deliver on your promise, well, your content is going to become clickbait, and that is not the kind of reputation you want to build. But value can come in a number of forms. It doesn't just have to be information. Value could, yes, it could be education, but it could also be just entertaining people, making people laugh. You could give people a moment of inspiration, or you could even share something that's really relatable. If you provide value in one of these 4 ways, you're going to build up a strong reputation as someone that promises big things, but then actually delivers on them. That's a really good way to build up authority with your audience. But it's not just the information you share in this, it's also how you present that information. Key thing here is your content needs to be digestible. You know, most Americans are actually below a grade 5 reading level, so your content needs to be simple. It needs to be way simpler than you think for people to actually read it. And if you think about the kind of mindset people are in when they're scrolling social media, they're probably on their phone, like a 6-inch device or whatever they are, maybe slightly bigger now. They're probably commuting to work, or they're in a distracted environment. There's loads of stimuli going on. They've got notifications coming in, messages, emails. They're very, very distracted. So they're not going to have the attention and the focus to actually digest big blocks of text. So it needs to be really simple. Use short sentences where you can. White space is really important because it breaks up your text and makes it more easy to digest and easy for your brain to process. You also want to share frameworks and processes. So if you can condense the information you're sharing into systems, frameworks, processes, steps, again, it makes it really easy for our brains to comprehend and also massively increases the perceived value of the content you're sharing. And the final way you can do it is use lists. So again, lists are a really easy way to chunk up key bits of text. Rather than using long paragraphs, you can break up text and chunk it into short lists. Again, it makes it really easy for people to digest. Remember, it's not just about educating and providing value here. We also need to make this content easy for people to consume, or, well, no one's going to consume it. It doesn't matter how valuable it is. Once you've done that, you want to leave a mic drop takeaway. Now, this is going to be the thing that people remember when they leave your post. You think of it like, imagine you've just delivered a keynote on stage. You've delivered a great talk, you come to the end of your keynote, and you leave people with like the final takeaway, and then you drop your mic and you walk off stage and everyone applauds. That's how you want to think about this mic drop takeaway. You essentially need to sum up what you said in the post in the most memorable way possible. If you can make it catchy, even better, because this is going to be what people remember. This is going to be what they take away. And next time they see your content, it's going to leave that impression on them that, last time they read this, there was something really valuable at the end. You'll also find that this is going to be the thing that most people use in their comment. A lot of people will comment something in similar style to what you've shared in the mic drop takeaway. So if you want to increase the engagement you're getting on your post and therefore the views you get, the people you reach, and the amount of influence you have, sharing a mic drop moment makes it easy for people to comment and therefore do that. Once you've done that, you can add in a PS. Now, PS, especially in emails actually, it's the second or third most read part of an email after the subject line. The PS is a really underrated way to build a further relationship with your audience or convert people or build even more authority. There are a few things you can do in the PS section. You can share a call to action. So that might be a call to comment or like or repost. It could be a call to action to download a guide that you shared or book a call with you. You could simply share further value. So that might be another little extra tip, a pro tip, a bonus. That's again just going to build a little bit more trust with your audience. But you can also use it to signal authority. Now, this is an underrated thing to use in the PS section. This is your chance to flex a little bit, show some of the results that you've achieved, show that you really know your stuff, talk about client win. And when you do this, it seems almost like a passing comment, but can add a lot of credibility to you and doesn't look overly promotional. And the final thing you need to do is add complementary creative. So the creative you share, either a carousel, an image, it could be a graphic, it could be a video, you want your creative to be complementary to the text. So it should supplement the copy, it should add to the conversation, but it shouldn't say exactly the same thing. And it should also make sense on its own. Now, what I mean by that is if someone just consumed the text, the body of your post, it should make sense. If someone just consumed the creative, either the video or the quote maybe, or the graphic that you use, it should also make sense on its own. But together, they supplement each other and add even more value. That is the best combination of creative and copy you can use to get the best results because you're providing the maximum number of opportunities for people to consume it. A lot of the time, people won't actually read your text, but if they see a graphic or a video or a quote that they relate to or that is valuable, they'll probably leave a like. They might even save that content or leave a comment on it. That's a really good way to increase the volume of people you're actually capturing with the content. And that is the formula to write viral posts every single time. But here's the thing, just by posting, you're not going to get the best results possible. And I know a lot of people are going to stop the video here because they've learned how to write a viral post, but they're actually going to miss out on the next 3 things that are actually even more important for generating ROI from your personal brand. One of those things is your engagement strategy. Your engagement strategy is an elite way to increase the performance of your content. Engaging on other people's content is one of the best ways to grow your account. And this is the engagement blueprint I want you to follow. So what you're gonna do is every time you post, you want to respond to comments in the first hour. So the number of comments you get on your post will massively influence the performance of that post in the algorithm, essentially how many people see it. So if you wanna reach more